broader meaning of hello hello यहाँ हम लोग देख रहे हैं ब्रॉडर मीनिंग ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी in this chapter we have considered the meaning of democracy in a limited and descriptive sense. We have understood democracy as a form of government. This way of defining democracy helps us to identify a clear set of minimal features that a democracy must have. The most common form that democracy take in our times is that of a representative democracy. Do you you have already read about this is the previous classes. The in the countries we call democracy, all the people do not rule. A majority is allowed to take decision on behalf of all the people. Even the majority does not rule directly. The majority of people rule through their elected representatives. This become necessary because modern democracies involve such a large number of people that it is physically impossible for them to sit together and take a collective decision. Even if they could, the citizen does not have the time, the desire, or the skill to take part in all the decision. यहाँ हम लोग बोल रहे हैं कि नॉर्मली जो हमको प्रेजेंट टाइम में डेमोक्रेसी की जो फॉर्म दिख रही है वो कौन सी रिप्रेजेंटेटिव डेमोक्रेसी है। रिप्रेजेंटेटिव डेमोक्रेसी में क्या होती है कि कुछ इलेक्टेड पर्सन जाते हैं, वही नॉर्मली मेन डिसीजन लेते हैं। और ये नेसेसरी क्यों है? क्योंकि देखिए मॉडर्न टाइम में नॉर्मली लोगों के पॉपुलेशन बढ़ रही है और इतने लोग मिलके एक साथ एक डिसीजन नहीं ले सकते हैं। अगर मान लेते लोग ऐसा करना भी चाहें तो लोगों के पास इतना टाइम नहीं है। तो इस कारण हम लोगों को क्या है, रिप्रेजेंटेटिव डेमोक्रेसी की ओर बढ़ना पड़ रहा है. This give us a clear but minimal understanding of democracy. This clearly, this clarity helps us to distinguish democracies from non-democracies, but it does not allow us to distinguish between a democracy and a good democracy. It does not allow to us to see the operation of democracy beyond government. For this, we need to turn to broader meaning of democracy. Sometimes we use democracy for organization. We use democracy for organization. One minute. Hello, hello. Sometimes we use democracy for organizations other than the government. Just read these statement. अभी हम लोग डेमोक्रेसी को डिफाइन केवल एनसीईआरटी से पढ़ रहे हैं बस. We are a very democratic family. Whenever a decision has to be taken, we all sit down and arrive at a consensus. My opinion matter as much as my father's. I don't like teachers who do not allow students to speak and ask questions in the class. I would like to have teachers with democratic temperament. One leader and his family members decide overthink in this party. How can they tell of democracy? This way of using this word democracy go back to its basic sense of a method of taking decision. A democratic decision involve consultation with and consult of all those who are affected by that decision, that who are not powerful have the same say in taking the decision as those who are powerful. This can apply to a government or a family or any other organization. Thus, democracy is also a principle that can be applied to any sphere of life. Sometimes we use the word democracy not to describe any existing government, but to set up an idea standard that all democracies must aim to become. कि यहाँ पे क्या क्या उनको बनना चाहिए. True democracy will come to this country only when no one goes hungry to bed. In a democracy, every citizen must be able to play equal role in decision making. For this, you don't need just an equal right to vote. Every citizen need to have equal information, basic education, equal resource, and lot of commitment. If we take these ideas seriously, then no country in the world is a democracy. Yet an understanding of democracy as an ideal reminds us why we value democracy. It is enabled us to judge an existing democracy and identify its weakness. It helps us to distinguish between a minimal democracy and a good democracy. In this book, we we do not ideal we do not deal much with this expand notion of democracy. Our focus here is with some core institutional feature of democracy as a form of government. Next year, you will read more about a democratic society and ways of elevating our democracy. At this stage, we j- just need to note that democracy can apply to many spheres of life and that democracy can take many forms. There can be various value of taking decisions in a democratic manner as long as the basic principle of consultation on an equal basis is accepted. The most common form of democracy in today's world is ruled through people elected representatives. We shall read more about that in chapter 3. But the community is small. There can be other ways of taking democratic decision. All the people can sit together and take decisions directly. This is now Gram Sabha should work in a village. Can you think of some other democratic ways of decision making? फिर यहाँ पे कुछ एक्टिविटीज दी हैं, हम लोग प्रिंसिपल पढ़ रहे हैं ओनली. This also means that no country is a perfect democracy. The feature of democracy that we discussed in this chapter provided only the minimal condition of a democracy. That does not make it an ideal democracy. Every democracy has to try to realize the ideal of a democratic decision making. This cannot be achieved once and for all. This requires a constant effort to save and strengthen democratic form of decision making. What if we do as citizens can make a difference to making our country more or less democratic? This is the strength of the weakness of democracy. एक 1 minute. Strength and weakness of democracy. The fate of the country depend not just on what the rulers do, but mainly on what we as citizens do. This is what distinguishes democracy from other form of government like monarchy, dictatorship, or one-party rule. Do not require all citizens to take part in politics. In fact, most non-democratic governments would like a citizen not to take part in politics. But democracy depends on active political participation by the all citizen. That is why we study a democracy must focus on democratic politics. Here is some information about four countries. Based on this information, how would you classify each of these countries? Right, democracy, under undemocratic, not sure, या against democracy. देखिए पहले, people who do not accept the country's official religion do not have a right to vote. ये तो भाई अनडेमोक्रेटिक हो गया. The same party has been winning election for the last 20 years. ये normally not sure है. Ruling party has lost in the last three election. There is no dependent election commission. तो ये अनडेमोक्रेटिक, पहला वाला अनडेमोक्रेटिक, और ये नॉर्मली हमारा अगेंस्ट डेमोक्रेसी है. यहाँ पे हमारा ये चैप्टर फर्स्ट खत्म होता है. इसके बाद हम लोग अब चैप्टर सेकंड को शुरू करेंगे.